What if I told you that a tiny 1943 1-cent coin from the United States could be one of the most talked about pennies in the entire world of coin collecting? A coin that was born during World War II, made from steel instead of copper, confused millions of Americans because it looks silver instead of brown, and today still creates one huge question among collectors. Is this coin worth just 1 cent, or could it be worth thousands of dollars in the right condition? In today's video, we're diving deep into one of the most famous American coins ever struck, the 1943 Lincoln wheat cent with no mint mark, minted in Philadelphia. We're going to explore its wartime history, its design, why it looks so different from other pennies, how to identify the no mint mark version, what makes some of these coins valuable, and most importantly, how much a 1943 no mint mark Lincoln cent can actually be worth today. So if you love rare coins, hidden value, coin history, and real coin collecting secrets, stay with me until the end, because this little steel cent has a story far bigger than its size. The coin we're talking about today is the 1943 United States 1 cent, commonly known as the 1943 Lincoln Steel Penny or the 1943 Lincoln Wheat Cent. This particular version is the no mint mark issue, which means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. On United States coins of that era, Philadelphia pieces usually did not carry a mint mark, so if your 1943 cent has no letter beneath the date, that means it is the Philadelphia issue. At first glance, this coin can surprise almost anyone, because it doesn't look like a normal penny at all. Instead of the classic copper-brown color people expect from a cent, the 1943 steel penny has a silver-gray appearance. Many people who discover one for the first time think it might be a foreign coin, a token, or even some kind of fake penny. But it is very real, and it represents one of the most dramatic emergency changes in American coinage history. To understand why this coin matters so much, we need to go back to 1943, right into the heart of World War II. During the war, the United States needed huge amounts of copper for military production. Copper was essential for ammunition, shell casings, wiring, communication systems, and other important wartime machinery. The government had to think carefully about where every important metal was going, and using copper for billions of 1-cent coins suddenly seemed wasteful when that same metal could help support the war effort. Before 1943, Lincoln cents were normally struck in a bronze-based copper alloy, but wartime needs forced the U.S. Mint to make a historic decision. For the year 1943, the 1-cent coin would no longer be made from the usual bronze composition. Instead, it would be struck in zinc-coated steel. That one decision created one of the most recognizable and unusual cents ever made in the United States. Instead of the familiar reddish-brown penny, Americans suddenly found a coin in their pocket that looked almost like a dime. It was bright, metallic, silver-colored, and completely different from what people were used to seeing. The steel cent instantly became memorable because it broke the visual identity of the American penny. But while the change helped save copper for wartime use, it also created several problems. These steel cents were often confused with dimes in circulation because of their color. They also had a tendency to rust or stain if the zinc coating wore away and the steel underneath was exposed to moisture. Many people didn't like them because they didn't age gracefully like bronze cents, and they simply looked strange compared to the pennies Americans had carried for decades. Because of those problems, the steel cent experiment lasted only 1 year. By 1944, the mint returned to a copper-based composition for the Lincoln cent. That makes 1943 one of the most important years in the entire Lincoln cent series, because it marks the 1 year when the ordinary American penny became a wartime steel coin. Now let's look closely at the design of this famous coin. On the obverse, or front side, we see the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Lincoln first appeared on the cent in 1909, and his image quickly became one of the most iconic portraits in American coinage history. The obverse design was created by Victor David Brenner, a designer whose work remains legendary among collectors. Around Lincoln's portrait, you'll see the inscription "I in God We Trust" across the top, Liberty to the left, and the date 1943 to the right. On the no mint mark version, there is no D or S beneath the date, which confirms that the coin came from Philadelphia. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln is simple, dignified, and powerful. Lincoln faces to the right with a calm and thoughtful expression, and even on such a small coin, the portrait carries a strong presidential presence. On a steel planchet, this design takes on a completely different feel compared to a normal bronze penny. Because the surface is silver gray instead of copper brown, Lincoln's portrait can look sharper and more dramatic, especially if the coin still has original mint luster. When we flip the coin over to the reverse, we find one of the most beloved reverse designs in U.S. coin history. The reverse of the 1943 cent features the classic wheat cent design, also created by Victor David Brenner. At the top is the Latin motto E pluribus unum. In the center appears the denomination 1 cent, and below that is United States of America. On both sides of the reverse are the famous wheat ears, sometimes called wheat stalks, which are the reason this series is known as the Lincoln Wheat Cent. This reverse has a strong traditional American look. It feels agricultural, patriotic, and elegant all at the same time. On the steel 1943 issue, the reverse looks especially striking because the light-colored metal creates a different contrast than a normal brown wheat penny. If the coin is in high grade with strong original surfaces, those wheat lines can look incredibly crisp, and the entire reverse can have a brilliant wartime shine that really makes the design stand out. Now, if you have a 1943 no mint mark cent in your own collection, it's very important to know how to identify it correctly, because this is where a lot of confusion begins. First, check the color. A normal 1943 steel cent should have a silver gray or dull gray appearance because it was made from zinc-coated steel rather than bronze. Second, check the mint mark area under the date. If there is no mint mark at all, then you're looking at the Philadelphia issue. Third, one of the easiest and most famous tests is the magnet test. A genuine 1943 steel cent should be magnetic because it has a steel core. That makes it very different from normal bronze cents, which are not magnetic. This one simple test has become one of the best-known ways to identify a regular 1943 steel penny. But you also have to be careful, because the popularity of the 1943 cent has led to many altered, fake, and misleading pieces in the market. Some counterfeiters have taken a 1948 Lincoln cent and altered the 8 to look like a 3, in order to imitate the famous rare 1943 bronze cent. Others may plate or alter coins to make them appear unusual, or more valuable than they really are. Some 1943 steel cents were later reprocessed or replated to restore a bright silver look, and while that can make them look shiny and attractive to beginners, serious collectors usually prefer coins with original surfaces rather than artificially refreshed ones. You also need to watch for rust, corrosion, damage, and cleaning, because steel cents are much more vulnerable than bronze cents. If the protective zinc coating wears away, the steel underneath can rust, and that can dramatically affect value. This is one reason why finding a truly original, attractive, and well-preserved 1943 steel cent can be much more interesting than finding a damaged one. One of the biggest reasons the 1943 penny gets so much attention is because of the difference between a common 1943 steel cent and the legendary 1943 bronze cent error. Most 1943 pennies were struck in steel. That's the normal wartime issue. But a tiny number were accidentally struck on leftover bronze planchets from 1942. Those rare bronze 1943 cents are among the most famous error coins in all of American numismatics. They can be worth astonishing amounts of money and have sold for massive prices at auction depending on their authenticity, mint, and condition. That's why whenever someone finds a 1943 penny that looks copper instead of steel, excitement begins immediately. A normal 1943 steel cent is a collectible wartime coin, but a genuine 1943 bronze cent is a major rarity. So if anyone has a 1943 cent that appears brown or copper-colored, that coin absolutely deserves careful inspection and likely professional authentication. Now the big question almost every collector asks is this: is the 1943 no mint mark steel penny rare? The answer is yes and no, depending on the specific coin. In normal circulated condition, The 1943 no-mint mark steel cent is not considered rare, because the Philadelphia Mint produced a huge number of them. Millions upon millions were struck, which means common worn examples still exist today. So just being old, just being from 1943, or just having no mint mark does not automatically make the coin rare or expensive. However, that does not mean every 1943 no mint mark cent is cheap. Value can rise dramatically if the coin has strong original mint luster, very little wear, a high certified grade, a major mint error, an important variety, or exceptional eye appeal. In other words, the average circulated steel cent may be common, but a top-quality gem example can be a very different story. This brings us to the most exciting part of the video. How much is a 1943 no-mint mark United States 1 cent worth? The truth is that value depends heavily on condition, originality, grade, and whether the coin has any special features. A normal circulated 1943 no-mint mark steel cent is usually worth only a modest amount, often ranging from a small premium over face value to a few dollars depending on how attractive it is. These are collectible because of their history, but most worn examples are not rare. However, when you move into uncirculated territory, things can change quickly. A bright, original, sharply struck 1943 Philadelphia steel cent with good luster can be worth far more than an ordinary circulated piece. If the coin is certified in a high mint state grade by a major grading service, the value can rise into much stronger territory. At the very top end of the market, elite examples with exceptional preservation can sell for thousands of dollars. Now let's talk directly about the $20,000 value claim, because this is where many YouTube viewers get excited. Can a 1943 no-mint mark Lincoln cent be worth $20,000? Yes, it can, but only under very special circumstances. That kind of value is not what you should expect from the average steel penny found in an old jar, pocket, or coin album. A $20,000 level result would usually be connected to one of a few specific situations: an extremely high-grade certified steel cent with outstanding originality and eye appeal, a major mint error or important variety, a registry-level top population example, or a rare wrong metal strike such as a genuine 1943 bronze cent, which is an entirely different class of rarity, and can be worth far beyond that amount. So the best way to explain this to your audience is very simple and very accurate. A 1943 no-mint mark Lincoln cent can range from low-value collectible status in ordinary condition to thousands of dollars in elite grades or rare error form, and in extraordinary cases values can climb to $20,000 or more. If you really want to know whether your own 1943 steel cent has strong value, there are several key things you need to focus on. The first is condition and grade. This is one of the biggest value drivers in coin collecting. The sharper the details, the cleaner the surfaces, and the stronger the original luster, the better the coin's chances of being valuable. The second factor is surface originality. Collectors prefer coins that still have their natural original surfaces rather than coins that have been harshly cleaned, polished, or reprocessed. The third factor is damage, especially rust and corrosion. Steel cents are vulnerable to environmental problems, and heavy spotting, peeling, pitting, or rust can reduce the value significantly. The fourth factor is mint errors and varieties. If the coin has a dramatic off-center strike, doubled features, a wrong planchet, or another unusual mint-made characteristic, that can push the value much higher. And finally, the fifth factor is authentication. If a 1943 cent appears bronze, unusually sharp, or potentially very valuable, professional authentication from a respected grading service becomes extremely important. What makes this coin so fascinating is that it is much more than just a 1-cent piece. It is a wartime survivor, a coin born out of one of the most intense periods in world history. It represents a time when the United States had to conserve metal for war production, and even the smallest coin in the nation's pocket change was affected by global conflict. It also represents a unique one-year experiment in American coinage, where the familiar bronze penny was replaced by a steel coin that looked almost like a dime. It carries the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected figures in American history, and it preserves the classic wheat ears reverse that collectors around the world instantly recognize. The 1943 steel cent is one of those coins that proves a tiny object can tell an enormous story. It tells us about war, economics, metal shortages, public reaction, minting changes, collecting myths, and hidden value all at the same time. And that's exactly why the 1943 United States Lincoln wheat cent with no mint mark remains one of the most famous and widely searched pennies in the coin world. Some examples are common, some are premium collectibles, and a very small number fall into the category of major rarity. That's what makes this coin so exciting for collectors, because one date can exist across a huge range of values depending on what exactly you have. If your 1943 penny is silver gray, magnetic, and worn, it may be a regular wartime steel cent worth a modest amount. If it is bright, original, and beautifully preserved, it could be worth significantly more. And if it appears copper-colored instead of steel, then that's the moment when the story changes completely and professional evaluation becomes essential. So if you have a 1943 penny with no mint mark, don't ignore it too quickly. It may be an ordinary steel cent with historical value, or it may be a much better coin than you realize. Check the color, test it with a magnet, examine the surfaces, and pay close attention to whether it looks original or unusual. Sometimes the smallest coins hide the biggest surprises, and the 1943 Lincoln steel cent is one of the best examples of that in all of American numismatics. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1943 Lincoln wheat steel penny, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Coin Market Insider, and turn on notifications, because on this channel we don't just look at coins, we uncover the history, rarity, mystery, and real market value behind them. And now I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever found a 1943 steel penny in your collection, your coin jar, or an old family box? And if you have one, tell me whether it has no mint mark, D mint mark, or S mint mark, because I'd love to feature more rare and valuable coin stories in future videos. Thanks for watching Coin Market Insider, and I'll see you in the next coin hunt.